Section 33.3 talks about regulation of population growth, and there's two types of life history patterns. We have opportunistic patterns and equilibrium patterns. Opportunistic are small in size, mature early, have a short lifespan, lots of offspring. They don't have parental care for the offspring. Examples of this would be weeds and insects. The equilibrium pattern, they're fairly large, slow to mature, have longer lifespans, fewer offspring per adults are produced. There's more energy put toward growth and survival of the offspring, so there's some parental care, and birds and mammals are an example of this. So you see this side by side on your PowerPoint, the opportunistic pattern versus the equilibrium pattern. Let's look at density independent and density dependent factors. Remember that A in front of a word in biology means not, so abiotic factors are not life factors, such as weather and natural disasters. The effects are the same, don't matter what the size of the population is. So it's called density independent because it doesn't make any difference how dense a population is. These will affect them equally. We have density dependent factors, which depend on the size of the group. So they are biotic factors or living factors such as competition, predation, and parasitism. And this effect depends on the size of the population. Competition is also a density dependent factor. It occurs when members of two different species try to utilize the same resource. An ecological niche is the role an organism plays in the community and includes its habitat, the resources they use, and the interactions within that community. The competitive exclusion principle states that no two species can occupy the same ecological niche at the same time if the resources are limited. Resource partitioning is slight differences in the way a resource is utilized. This decreases competition between the two species and allows occupancy of several different niches and therefore survival of more than one organism. Here we have competition between two laboratory populations of paramecium. You'll notice that as the population density increases, we see the S-shaped curve where we have the carrying capacity that's reached. And this is both species grown together as population density increases, and look what happens. Instead of the P. caudatum growing up to its potential, it will go lower than its carrying capacity, and the P. ariella is lower than its normal carrying capacity but does reach its carrying capacity. Predation or predator-prey relationship is when one organism feeds on another. Predator-prey population dynamics have the cycling of the predator and prey populations, and occurs when either predators overkill prey or when prey overuses resources and their numbers crash. In either case, predator numbers also decrease from a decrease in food source. Here's an example of what happens with the lynx and the snowshoe hare, starting in 1845 going to 1936. And you notice they have a cycle where as one increases, the other one increases. One increases drastically, the other one drops off drastically. And they're related the whole time because one is a food source for the other. So as the snowshoe hare population increases, so will the lynx population. And as the snowshoe hare population decreases, so will the lynx population eventually due to a lack of food source. There's another form of predation called anti-predator defenses, and this coevolution is present when two species adapt in response to selective pressures that are imposed by the other. Let's look at examples of those. An anti-predator defense example is mimicry, and one species resembles another species. This can help capture food or avoid being preyed upon. Batesian mimicry is a prey that is not harmful, mimics another species that has successful anti-predator defenses, such as warning colorations, and allows better survival. Mullerian mimicry is when species that resemble each other all have successful defenses. Here's an example of mimicry among insects. A yellow jacket wasp used stinging as its defense, a flower fly, and a longhorn beetle are Batesian mimics because they are incapable of stinging other animals, yet they have the same appearance as the yellow jacket wasp. Then a bumblebee and the yellow jacket wasp are Mullerian mimics because they have similar appearance but both use stinging as a defense. Look at the different types of symbiosis. Symbiosis are close interactions between two members of two different species. Parasitism can be considered a type of predation. So parasitism is when one's benefited, the other one's harmed. Commensalism is one is benefited, the other one has no effect, so it doesn't harm or help. Mutualism is benefited by both species are benefited by mutualism. So let's take a look at each one of those. Parasitism is when a parasite derives nourishment from a host and the parasite benefits and the host is harmed, such as There's disease-causing bacteria, and of course we're familiar with ticks and then leeches as well that are considered parasites. Commensalism is when one species benefits and the other is neither benefited nor harmed. So examples of commensalism would be the clownfish and the sea anemones, and the cattle egrets and the cows. Mutualism is when both members are benefited, such as plants and pollinators, or small fish and large organisms that live together. One gets food off of the other, and the other one gets clean because of it. We're going to end this chapter with ecological succession. Ecological succession is a change in a community's composition that is directional and follows a continuous pattern of extinction by colonization by new species. Primary succession on land is establishment of a plant community in a newly formed area where there's no soil formation. Secondary succession is the return of a community to its natural vegetation following a disturbance. And the first organism that comes in is going to be called a pioneer species. These are plants that begin the process of secondary succession. Here we see a process of secondary succession into a forest. There are models of succession. One's called the climax pattern model. Particular areas will always lead to a specific climax community, and this is based on the fact that climate determines what plants survive. Exact composition of climax communities need not be the same. For example, the climax community in an area may be a deciduous forest, but the tree species may differ, so we may not have all the same trees in each deciduous forest. The facilitation model is each successive community prepares the environment for the next. Grasses are necessary before shrubs, and the shrubs before trees. The inhibition model says colonizing species hold on to space until they die or are damaged. The tolerance model says different species can colonize at the same time, and this is random chance as to which one's going to arrive first. That finishes the lecture on 33.3. Don't forget to watch the EOC review videos as well.